Hey friends, let's be real here. You and I both know that the one singular difference between you and people like J.K. Rowling, Elon Musk, or Mark Zuckerberg, aka Lizardboy, now it isn't because you're smart, it isn't because of your motivation, and it certainly isn't your work ethic. The one difference between you and them is that you are constantly tired. So today, I'm gonna explore more methods for breaking that cycle of constant tiredness and get back your daily energy. First, get enough sleep. So the real question is, how many hours should you get? Now, you've probably seen the recommendation from like CDC or even from other videos about how many hours you should get each night based off your age. But if you are using those figures to set your alarm clock, you still might be waking up in the morning feeling like you just got hit by a bus. And if that's the case, well, it's probably because you're not respecting your body's sleep cycle. You see, during the night, sleep happens in many different stages, and that each corresponds to different level of brain activity. And together, these are known in the sleep cycle. Now, I'll leave to some sources down below in case you want to go more in depth in this, because there's a lot of research to do behind it. And also, I just don't want to sound like I'm just talking that it's in there, because when I make videos, I make sure I tell you my personal experience, the research I do, and also I make sure that I actually do it. Anyway, but what you need to know right now at this very second is that if you wake up in the wrong stage of the sleep cycle, you're going to feel absolutely awful. And that's the risk you run when using an alarm clock. For the most of the human history, we know that we didn't have access to an alarm clock, or even electric, and for that matter. And our sleep patterns were much more in tune with the cycle of day and night. Almost always wake up in the sleep cycle, unless they were disturbed by something like a rooster crow. Is that a thing? I think that's a thing. Or an invasion, because that was very normal back then. And because of that, they almost always wake up feeling well rested. Unless you're like me, that's a very deep sleeper, and probably if invasion was happening in the world, I'd probably would sleep right through it. However, if you let the alarm clock startle you to wake up, then you're gonna feel like a zombie mode. A person who sleeps for 6 hours will feel more rested than someone who sleeps for 8 to 10 hours. Now, I recommend to figure out when you naturally wake up. Like for me, it's like 6:30 now. And this might take a while for you to learn, but once you know what it is, you can then use your alarm clock as a backup method. Then ideally, you'll just wake up at the completion of your final sleep schedule. That also means you need to get into the habit of actually going to bed on time to wake up before the alarm goes off. But the main key habit you need to establish now is basically you want to get rid of anything that you typically get sucked into, well, before your bedtime. For me, this means turning off my computer and phone after 9 p.m. each night. Otherwise, I'll just scroll hours on social media. Secondly, get outside, get some exercise, go touch some grass every day as well. Now, even if you have a rock solid sleep schedule, you might still be suffering from a couple of problems that are really common to students and just young people that are related to, well, a lack of sunlight and a lack of exercise. We're going to get into the science behind it here in a sec, but first I do want to note that when I feel tired during the day, or when I just, get the feeling of the brain fog, going outside for a minute walk always works. It's the number one method that can always get me back in the state of mind. You also gotta remember that our bodies were designed to move. It honestly was never designed to just spend a lot of time sitting in the chair, and all the time we sink into our screen and both just keeping us indoors and away from the sun. But I kid you not, make no mistake that the sun played a huge role in maintaining your energy level. Also, your body's main source of vitamin D, which not only plays a role in keeping your bones healthy, but it also keeps your immune system working and your lungs working. Now, one thing I should probably note here is that the sun exposure alone isn't enough during the winter. Since the winter is just around the corner, it just isn't powerful enough, which is why a lot of people suffer from seasonal affect disorder. So if that's the case for you, you might also want to look into some vitamin D supplement during the type of month. But even with those, it's a good idea to try to just get outside in the sun, at least just for a little bit, every single day, even if it's just a quick walk around the block. And that brings us to the topic of exercise. The only way to not feel tired all the time is to do an intense workout every single day. But lucky enough, in this case, in fact, just doing some low intense workout, like going for a minute walk outside, or like we said, might even be more effective at getting rid of the symptom of fatigue and brain fog. So the bottom line is, if you're tired all the time, get some exercise every single day. Doing a heavy bench workout or running a mile is fun for you, then definitely do that. That would obviously help. But if not, you'll still benefit from a quick walk at pace. Now let's talk about the caffeine. Now I'm not going to outright caffeine, because if you use it once in a while, well, it can actually be a very useful tool for shaving off the fatigue. When we need to finish a particular big project, but at this recovering caffeine addiction can tell you it's super easy to start using caffeine on a regular basis. And this is where the problem begins. For starters, if you drink something like caffeine late enough in the day, it can really mess up your sleep cycle. Now, when I talk about late enough, I'm not talking about maybe 12 or 1 p.m. of a cup of joe. I'm talking about like 6 or 5 hours before bedtime, according to one study. So if you have been drinking caffeine in the afternoon, you could be compromising your sleep schedule. And what this will do is, it's going to make you more and more dependent on this on the next day. Additionally, much like any other drug, your body starts to build up a tolerance to the caffeine as you use it regularly. And this will create more adenosine receptors. And that means that as time goes on, you need more and more caffeine to do the same job as to get that same feeling. Eventually becoming like one of my friends who can drink 3 or 4 coffees per a day, and surprisingly his teeth are really white. Anyway, but if you are already at this point, maybe you are that friend of mine, then adapting to the sleep and exercise habit we already talked about in this video can definitely help. I also recommend honestly using the habit like an app track called Habit Goal and a to-do challenge to kick your caffeine. This will give you a little bit of extra motivation because now you have a goal that you can work toward. And lastly, let's just talk about more water. You just need to drink water, especially if you drink a lot of caffeine. You definitely need water. And truly a habit that I started to pick up on, so I drink more water, is whenever I go out, if I'm about to go do something, I always make sure I bring a bottle of water with me. And this will actually help you for those who feel fatigue and brain fog. Even mild dehydration can make you feel even tired. And speaking about dehydration, I'm actually going to get water. This is because basically every part of your body, including your brain, needs a good supply of water to functionate properly. And while the old advice is to get 8 glasses a day, might not be scientifically sound, but most people aren't even getting close to that amount. Now, something that I also do, besides just bringing water bottles wherever I go, I would also replace whatever you're going to drink. So if you're about to eat dinner, instead of having that soda or lemonade or iced tea, replace it with water, as this will help you throughout the day drink more water. Now, you might be thinking that none of these habits seem particularly out of the blue or insightful, but I would ask you, how many of them are you actually going to stick to? Because really, avoiding a life of constant tiredness comes down to avoiding healthy habits. They might seem obvious, but sometimes we need a simpler reminder. We need to stop and make a commitment or put a system in place. Part of the game is your game piece, so make sure your health is a priority, and in return, you'll be rewarded with an uncommon level of energy and focus that you can use to tackle all those things that you have a greater level of intensity. You might even find yourself with the energy to take on a new project that you wouldn't even have considered before. Instead of finishing your homework and then just watching Netflix or playing video game, you might actually have the energy to teach yourself how to even build a video game, or start making videos, or even starting up that online business you have always been talking about with your friends for years now. Now, if you made it up this far into the video, well, you might be interested in these are the 5 habits that will actually change your life according to science, as this will be the next step for you to start creating some healthy habits that will change your life. Thank you guys so much for staying and watching, and be sure to subscribe or not. If you have any questions, be sure to comment below, and I will see you guys in the comments.